Oh, yeah. She always does. Yeah.
All right. All right. Yes. That's it. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's. We're gonna start. Hello. All right, thanks. Thanks for coming. This is the Art Word Show. It's celebrating National Poetry Month. We got one more day, so why not do this? This is art inspired by poetry, poetry inspired by art. It's the only show that I take a chance. Well, I take a chance. But this one I accept artwork before it's even produced. So I need to trust the artists and the poets I work with. It is one of my favorite shows. One of the only ones I can participate in as a poet and as an artist this time around. So we're here today. So how it works is basically I invite artists to submit existing artwork and poets to submit existing poetry. The artwork goes to the poets. Poets are asked to connect with a piece of art and create a new poem inspired by that piece of art. The poems are gonna go to the artists, and the artists are asked to ask them to connect with a piece of art and then connect with a poem and then create a new piece of poem, a new artwork inspired by that. So it goes back and forth. It's usually poetry inspired by artwork, but I try to do it both ways. So that's what we have here. All of the artwork, there's a couple pieces that are just on Artsy online. The show is all up on Artsy. I mean, you're going to hear the majority of the poetry today. So, but if you want to go back and have a look at them, spend a little time with them and have a look at the work, please go right ahead. It's on artsy.net. So today we're going to bring up the poets and have them read some of the poetry that they wrote inspired by some of the art, or a poem that an artist made a piece of art for. In some instances, there's a couple pieces of art that were inspired by the same poem, and there was a few poems written that were inspired by the same piece of art. So let's welcome our first reader, Lucinda Abra. Yeah. And this is based on this piece right here. This is called Sunday, right? Okay, great. And then we have another piece by someone else that wrote to that as well.
Tell you all, I was crying. It's a miracle to see human beings again.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming out in the rain, and thank you for having Star-crossed. Inez focused on the slightest sliver of light that snaked under the closed door. A lone tear trickled downward, a darkened blotch among the field of pillowcase daisies. Her uncle clawed and raked again. He disparaged riddles and worries while their bodies merged, one quite willing, hungry even, the other rigid. He whispered they were like Romeo and Juliet, and they were, Star-crossed. She tried to speak, to tell her mom, but inside Inez's mouth, stubborn knots of words refused to dislodge. They sat there unused, dirty, swollen, tangles banging against her braces. Her menstrual cycles had just recently begun. So easy to not notice a skip month or two. Her uncle arrived punctually every Saturday to keep her in Inez company. Ever grateful for family nearby, her mom ran through town, doing weekly shopping and a few sundry chores. She even stopped for a bite with her closest friend, enjoying a little downtime. A third month, 90 days late, brought alarm. Inez fainted in class. Knowing her condition, the school nurse summoned an ambulance. Her parent fought against revulsion, anger, and fear as the physician expressed her remorse. The hospital could not, would not give the girl the next series of chemotherapy, as it would hurt the fetus. Inez, feverish and weak, did not understand that her childhood had ended. She would either be a mother by her 14th birthday, or the leukemia would kill her first.
For a different take, this is from poet Gwyneth Green, who couldn't be here today, so really pleased to have her to let me get here.
Sundance, simplicity of life. Henry thought taking a walk down memory lane would ease his pain that wakes him daily. Going back to the two-room cottage, air perfumed by lavender that bees busily buzzed. Did he truly miss the simplicity of life? No one nagging? Well, his mother every evening. He laughs now. Well, that wasn't nagging. She wanted him to succeed, follow his dreams, leave the simple life behind. Put his head to the grindstone, be better, be grander than this, see what life could offer. Marry, buy the big house, fill it with kids, a dog and a cat. Maybe come back for a visit before her last breath. Her smile haunts him, for he missed that day. Too busy to take a break. A wife that nags morning and night, nothing seems to be right. She needs more than he can do. When did he lose his way? When did he stray from his true beliefs? Henry didn't resist this last opportunity. Unpacking his bag, he found his grounding in the two-room cottage, air perfumed by lavender that bees busily buzz. He no longer misses the simplicity of life.
Okay, Bruce. That Bruce had a few pieces a few poems that artists had made some work to, and then he wrote two poems as well. You did. We're actually, you're gonna read the poem first, When She Looked West.
Oh, shit. I don't even have it. Where is that?
That's all right. That's all right. What do you have with that one? Okay, we'll skip to that then.
Okay.
So we have Making Roots. The really colorful piece there, the playful piece with the balloons. Marjorie Maggot had created a piece for a wonderful poem that Bruce had written called When She Looks West. That is online, so please go have a look at it or read it after the show. So please, Bruce, we're doing Making Roots, right? For
Yes.
J.D. Weiss's piece.
Yeah,
right.
Transmutation, a movement around the circle. Just want to mention, my wife Joanne and I run a reading series, we have an artist, a musician, and a writer, and Robert's reading this Tuesday at 7 o'clock at the W Diner. Kitty Kokonos, the filmmaker, is going to be in the program too. And Paul Clark, the guitarist. It's a real sorties event this Tuesday at 7 at the 9/11 Diner. Transmutation, a movement around a circle, after J.D. Weiss. It's shifting, moving over to the other side with a yelp and a howl, like a jump in a lake or a movement around a circle. Watch for strange movements, pledges of faith to the moon and stars. Excerpt yourself from impolite impulses moving toward the horizon with a bang. Provide identification to the fog and heavy breezes, the divining rod pointing toward faraway stars. Come rest your head on these thoughts, these round mountains, surrendering to Father Time, these momentous occasions, calling for truth, these poetic expressions of beauty and foreboding.
Hi, Patrick Hammer, Saugerty's newest resident poet, or poet resident. Wrote a piece for this as well. So we're gonna hear for that.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I am very happy to be here. Great turnout. So for this lovely piece again, Making Roots after J.D. Weiss. Making roots as if some giant Jack or Jill or Jane or John plucked a limb from some tree and placed it here for rooting in this shallow, rocky, field-sized puddle. All so small, as if a giant, ever-widening ripples a mirror on the expanding universe, taking root like this unfolding tree. The giant has drifted off into the fog mist that prevails. Roots, like tendrils, will crush, submerge stone, and the tree will grow as tall as Jill. Thank you.
And then Hammer's gonna read another piece for Shelley Davis's Rear Window, which is the piece right up next to Marjorie's with the brick. Yeah.
Nothing,
Right.
well, yeah, there's a bit of Hitchcock in this too. Rear Window, how could there not be? Rear Window after Shelley Davis. Everybody knows the piece there? Okay, great. Red wall, white wall, all the same to old brick. Make it anachronistic. Air conditioners on the windows of a fine
Really pleased to have my two-time prom date Kathy Wilson here to read for us. Carolyn, there's two pieces that Carolyn did. She wrote a poem that was here later that I created a collage for. And then Carolyn created a new poem, a really wonderful tale inspired by Debbie Auer Breitbart's piece called Time Out, which is the little girl there with the dragon. So come on up, take it away, Cal.
Okay, so yeah, I saw that piece and it reminded me so much of something that I wrote that combines a little bit of fantasy and a little bit of reality. And I normally just write from a reality standpoint, but this was just something that inspired me. So it's called The Dragon and the Queen. So bear with me. Perhaps one day I'd like this to maybe be a children's book of some sort. I don't know. Is the artist here?
She's not, no.
Okay, well, if we can ever get to that stage, I would love her to be the illustrator.
Got it.
Long ago, a dragon made a deal with a queen. He'd let her rule the world if he'd remain unseen. There was only one of his kind. He'd be killed if they could find the monster from the sea, though he was just like you and me. He roamed deep, fathoms below, deep as the disbelief that a dragon could love. With his snake-like body and his wings like a bat, teeth like a tiger and eyes of a rat, the townspeople would find him too ugly for love, unfit to live. Although he could fly, he'd stay below the sea, knowing no one could believe he was just like you and me. But the queen knew better. That's why she was queen. She kept her promise and all that it would mean. Come morning, she was bowed down by the king, the squire, the jester, every living thing. 'Twas evening when the curtains were drawn, come virgins and maidens to fan her till dawn. She'd wake for fresh air and summons them all to retire, for at night she was refueled by the dragon's spitfire. He kept his promise and stayed down below. He would only appear for her in dark shadows. Risking his life, for the guards were in sight, she watched where his shadow appeared in the moonlight. Quietly she escaped to the edge of the sea. Then he guided the forces that danced with her delight. He would tiptoe on the water, sending ripples far below, and shoot up like a cannon with waves to her toes. He made her love when she was cold. He kept her young when she grew old. He made her laugh when she cried. He made her live when she died. No one ever knew of the bond they had. When the dragon sank low, she was all he ever had. There was a kingdom at her feet, a fire in her soul. She could command her army, but love she could not control. One day in battle, the queen was dethroned and left for dead by the side of the road. While tucked away deep in the sea he called home, he felt a cold shiver from his head to his toe, through his skin and his bones. The dragon sensed trouble and rushed by her side and held the queen in his wings just before she died. He carried her high into the sky, higher and higher to the stars they did fly. While the kingsmen below, throughout the countryside, threw down their swords and bowed their heads and cried. No one ever knew of the friend that stuck by the queen to the end. All the while they walked by her side, yet no one saw her from the inside, except the dragon who had to hide, for he was feared and misunderstood. Now the hand of fate has left the dragon alone. Through the seven seas, sadly, he did roam. Centuries passed as he searched for a home, looking for a love to call his own. When he cried, the tears overflowed the sea. His tears overflowed the seas. He often thought of his fire-breathing queen. She kept her promise and allowed him to live, but for whom did he now have his spitfire to give? Life became overwhelming for a dragon so unique. Once upon a time, he wanted to fly, to show the world he was like you and I. He was ugly, yet he could smile. He was feared, yet he knew love. He chose life over freedom, so he would remain. But without the queen, life wasn't the same. There was a time when he would give it a try. Now he wanted to die. Long ago, a dragon made a deal with the queen. She'd allow him to live if he'd remain unseen. Now she was in heaven and he again all alone. But she wanted to be near his heart and his home. Then from the heavens a miracle was sent. The dragon found love and wisdom and all that it meant. Part angel, part dragon, part queen breathing fire. He took her to his wings. Through eternity they would fly. It was a gift from above for remaining true to love, for their words and deeds and all the good seeds they planted in their journey through life. There was only one dragon and only one queen who loved with the love the world had never seen. If you open your eyes and look to the light, you'll see them shining in the sun and dancing in the stars at night, showing the world it is worth the fight. Truth, promise, and love. If you can get a piece of it, embrace it with your life. Hold it with serenity and fly on for eternity. Through the world and over the trees, on the surface and deep in the seas, through the heavens, the stars and the breeze, you'll be flying forever beside the dragon and the queen.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you.
Debbie Breitbart's work was very popular with the poets Confucius. were selected. Three poets wrote to this next piece of art called Kitsune. Which was a popular piece in sales as well. It sold on opening day, so it's no longer on the wall, but there's a printout of it. So the first person that's gonna come up is Teresa to read for Gwyneth Green. This is her piece based on it is called Kitsune, and Gwyneth's piece is called Sophia.
What did it look like?
It's the little girl with the fox.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Sophia. Sophia sought solace in the flowery field, closing her eyes. Images of a broken heart, not once, but thrice. Sadness hung heavily. You once hummed me a tune. The girl, oh, wrong page. I'm sorry. Sadness hung heavily, releasing a deep sigh, falling into a meditative state. A magical spirit materialized, a guide reminding her to listen, be patient, be aware, be cautious. Nudging her, Sophia stirred. Still there, she held out her hands. He removed her broken hearts.
Right, Michelle DeSico?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Or yes,
You said it right.
Okay, great. Very happy to have Michelle here. She did a handful of poems. So we really connected with a lot of the pieces. So it'll be interesting to see how different all of the pieces are, the responses.
Summer sweet grass, breath, slow as a tender whisper, with friendship on its tongue. She and I, promises kept. We have journeyed as one soul. From our simple births, precious butterflies carry our love from palm safely to aqua citrine sky.
Thanks, Michelle. Elizabeth, real happy to have Elizabeth Schaefer here. Elizabeth's going to read two poems. The first is based on Kitsune, and then the second is based on Summer Solstice, which is one of the three seasonal pieces by Linda. All right.
Thank you for all of it. The whole thing is wonderful, isn't it? Kitsune, based on a painting by Debbie R. Whitehouse. Kitsune, little fox, my friend, you hand me 3 cracked hearts, whose hues and shapes, like bleeding heart blossoms, tear at my own heart, since we live close together as friends and companions. Kitsune, little fox, my guide, messenger from Inari, goddess who descended from heaven to Japan, in the midst of famine, riding a white fox, patron of bladesmiths and merchants, you brought me luck and good fortune throughout the years. Kitsune, little fox, my lover, with a whoosh of one of your 9 tails, you changed me to be male and changed yourself a female. We had a son, and at the same time, my dog had a pup, which, as it grew, got jealous of you, became more and more hostile to you. You begged me to kill it, but sadly I refused, and one day the dog attacked you so viciously, you turned back to your vulpine shape, leapt over a fence and fled. Bereft, I called after you. You are the mother of my son, and I will always love you. Come back. And every evening you steal back and sleep in my arms as a woman. But at daybreak you leave as a fox. So you are never fully mine, and I am never fully yours. Now you look beseeching as I gaze at each of the 3 cracked hearts you gave me, and I feel my heart breaking, for I still feel we are one. I am in you, and you are in me. Kitsune, dear little fox, my friend, guide, and lover. And, with the summer solstice, based on a painting by
That-
Linda Linton.
That's the one in the center.
um, Rose, orange, yellow, white clouds billow up into a clear blue sky after the long dark of winter, a time of rejoicing to feel the sunlit warmth of long summer days. But what if two dark leafless trees, rising tall and stark against red plumes of fire and thick gray clouds of smoke, or the three small pine trees bent against wind below more thick gray clouds? Are these reminders of recent raging forest fires spread by rising windstorms in our fragile warming planet, and a portentous signal of more of these to come? Yeah.
Did want to mention that myself, shout out Socrates, and Will Nixon came together and we're celebrating National Poetry Month throughout the village. So you'll see different poems in the merchant windows. They're all very local poets. We try to match them up with the appropriate merchant in town. There's a little map online if you wanted to go and check it out, but they're down Main Street and down Partition. So a number of the poets that are here today are part of the series as well. So they'll be up for a bit more, even though April is over tomorrow. So please go have a look. Okay, I wanted to mention that Gwyneth Green had also written a piece for that, and Anna Silva had written a piece for Time Out, the piece that Carolyn had read for. So I encourage you to go check those out online as well. So we're going to move on to the next season in the Linda Linton series and bring up Josepha Catilius, who is going to do spring solstice, right?
Spring equinox.
Spring equinox, I'm sorry. Yeah, summer solstice, spring equinox. Come on up, Josepha.
This is also in the window of Dozie's.
Yes.
Very nice sculpture. Spring equinox, Linda Linton. Wherever you are, by some window, some river, an identifiable drone like a name chanted gives a clue. I'm listening. I see green. I put my body here by a window near a river, veiled in green glass, light and liquid long shadows. I'm thinking of you. I'll find you soon. That's all there is to it.
We'll be hearing some more from Josepha coming up. Michelle, come on up. Michelle took on winter. So we're gonna have a winter piece from Michelle, and then her piece that she wrote inspired by Margie Maggot's At the Beach.
Sorry, it'll just take me a second.
So much.
Winter solstice. We breathe in. Deep hold. Release at turtle's pace. Our spirit lifts from inside. Spreads its bare soul. Branches invite. Rhodonite blends through carnelian sunrise. A new season welcomes rest. Hypnotic rocking of winter trees. Lazy white flakes to come. Lulls apart to feel deep. At the beach. Cool turquoise waves, warm summer wind. Beach hours pass. Feel like minutes. Husky pup splashes about.
watching her handstands. These two inseparable, days well spent.
Thank you, Michelle. Michelle has a home in the window over at Hudson Valley Baking Company. I also wrote a piece for the at the beach. Also called At the Beach. And this is where where it took me. The film strip Click Click Clicks to life. 1971 is scrawled on a paper plate that my sisters hold up for the camera. They make goofball faces and run to their friends. The camera pans back to Seaside Heights and my family clumped together on the beach. Aunts and uncles long gone are there with some of the cousins. I'm 6, the youngest, and they're burying me in the sand. I stand up, shake it off, and dart towards the ocean, stopping just before my feet meet a wave. I skirt the surf, but never take the plunge. I'm smiling, unaware of what I now notice as an adult. I'm smiling, unaware of all the loss ahead. But at that moment, it's a happy place. 11 years later, and I'm headed for the shore, sneaking Valentine out of Pop's basement cabinet.
Yeah.
I'm with the girls, but I'm not noticing the bikinis. I'm stroking my adolescence to the briefed and shirtless jocks that I dared sneak a glimpse at in the locker room, now very present at the beach. I'm brave behind my sunglasses, staring openly at the glistening display. There's Edie, sitting next to me in the photo, dreaming of Sting, and Jackie in the background doing the time warp, or maybe the safety dance, and Mike. And then there's Mike, sitting across from me, watching me behind sunglasses. He's waiting for when it's time to drop off the girls. For when, on that day, we pull behind the reservoir and he gives me my first kiss. The adolescent me in the photo was in the prime of the stone. The joy flushed my face, unaware of the heartbreaks ahead. But in that moment, it's a happy place. I think of those beach memories now and want that kid to kiss a wave, for that teenager to take a dive, and for the adult to rediscover the purity of love and to feel all tingly again in a happy place. Hammer.
Yes.
All right, we have a few. Josepha does double duty as both a poet and as an artist. So we're going to read a couple poems inspired by some of Josepha's artwork. The first is More Art Everywhere, which is right over there.
Only in one place. What a great slogan, right? Especially for this area of New York. More art everywhere for Josepha. Who will wear that announcement on their back, calling out for more art and everywhere? Out the window, in the hallway, at the arcade, in the lobby, calling out for more, under rocks and stones, minuscule dirt and pebbles, all art on their own terrain. Sky, a shifting canvas, rain, hail, slant of light, art. And wind, that invisible sculptor. More art in the subway, more art on plates, in glasses, all nature, a plein air studio. Twigs, books, mirrors, bone, hammers, nails, hooks, bulbs, all artistic. And everywhere, art on our breath, in our brains, on our minds. More art everywhere, and more to come.
All right, Michelle, let's see what you did. I think that should be
Ugh. Never mind.
One.
The motto, thank you. The motto.
I agree. More art everywhere. Creativity expands. Art show discussion. Don't be an art snob. Fill your mind and heart with art. Help change the world's view.
One more.
Wrong script.
Okay.
Michelle and Rosemary Chase connected on two pieces. Michelle wrote a poem for the digital work over there, and then Rosemary created a digital drawing for Michelle's piece called Rum Script.
Rum script. I watch as he pours. The empty glass fills as when my soul was filled with you. This caramel hued liquid floods my empty heart as it pours down my parched throat. Sadness tries to choke me as the rum soothes and quiets the pain.
Mr. Nixon. Will Nixon wrote a handful of pieces as well. We are looking at now. Yes. Piper Levine. I was really pleased to have this. I had invited Philip to participate as a poet, and he said, "Hey, would you take a look at my daughter's work?" And I love that. So, and obviously I wasn't the only one because Will chose it as well, and it sold. So please take it away and let's see this one.
Woo!
Was she just here?
No, she's just at SUNY Purchase today.
Oh.
School's just finishing
Oh, all right, that's what we
for this semester.
All right. I love this piece. By coincidence, it's by Philip's daughter, as I discovered. To the Eyes Drawn by Piper Levine. These eyes have sipped the light out of the moon. These eyes have chosen an eyeshadow the color of dawn. These eyes have answered the 1,000 tiny eyes of the birds singing the dawn chorus with a silence never before heard by the birds or by anyone else. A silence learned on the dark side of the moon, where silence has been preserved across the unbroken eons of time, where one word spoken aloud would be an earthquake. Two, forget about it. Two words like, "Hi, Mom," or three, like, "See you later." It's true, these eyes have never spoken a word, but they are not silent. They make a sound like the molten core of the earth, boiling but muffled beneath our feet. A sound like sunlight ping-ponging through the atmosphere to give us a blue sky. A sound like our minds in that rare moment we don't know what to say next. Then we do. We say, "Quit staring, please. It's not polite." These eyes are too large. They know too much. They've seen everything we do. Our first kiss and our last, our weddings and divorces, our forgotten passwords, our cross-eyed lives that haven't turned out as we planned. Maybe you've seen these eyes in cartoons or on marble statues, but you haven't. These eyes are unique, angry, intrepid, unblinking. They won't stop until the sun burns out and they can finally see everything in darkness. Then they'll be free to find a new home in the universe. All right, thanks, Will.
Keeping it in the Levine family, let's bring up Philip Levine. Philip wrote or there were two pieces, no?
2 poems.
Two poems, yes. Three pieces of art that were created inspired by one of Philip's poems, and then another piece of art that was created for another. So he's gonna come up and read both. Come on up. Sorry. We're
Thank you,
doing,
Robert.
that's good. We're doing winter trees first, correct?
That's my understanding.
All right, great. These are the three pieces that were created for this poem. This is by Will Nixon, doing double duty. Gorgeous encaustic piece by Regina Quinn that is already to its new home. And then a beautiful photograph by JD Weiss, 2.25 film. She does traditional photography. So people really responded to this short but effective poem. So yeah.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm thrilled as a dad that my daughter had a piece of art and that wonderful poem by Will. I will say that I see a lot of artwork sold, but I don't see any poems.
Poetry's a hard sell.
Stuff with that. Winter trees, and I should say, there's a word in here that perhaps some of you don't know. It's sadhus, and they're religious zealots in India. And in one of the practices, as a supplication or two, is they'll hold their arm up for years, 24/7, and their arms will eventually just atrophy. It's quite startling. And anyway, so it's in this poem, sadhus.
Thank you for saying that though, but it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. Winter trees. I like the trees best now, with their hands where I can see them. I like the white oaks most of all, black, brawn, and grainy. These are the sadhus I know, caught by the shocking strobe of seasons, arms in frantic, mad apology, scratching the sky for one more sun.
And then the second piece is Woman on a Subway, brand new mixed media piece created by Ingrid Nichter, who I believe is here
Oh,
now.
right here.
Excellent, nice.
Who's the artist?
Ingrid, right back here, Ingrid Nichter.
Oh, sweet, thank you. Thank you so much. This is a wacky piece. There's actually a blog, a poet friend of mine interviewed me to talk about the growth of this poem, and I said a few things. One is that I often have a little aphorism that I include with this, which is, I'm so distracted, I can't even focus on my obsession. And it's kind of a stream of anxiety piece. It was kind of, the bulk of it was written in one setting, and I usually know it by heart, but it's been a while. So, and I usually start sitting, but we're out of chairs. So. A woman on a subway. So you're sitting on the subway and you're staring straight ahead, and something just smacks you in your head, and you turn around and it smacks you in your head again, and you're not hurt, but something is running out your ear and running down your neck, and it kind of tickles, but not funny tickles. So you're not laughing, but you're not crying either. In fact, you're not doing anything either way, but you don't care because a woman. And at home, all the people you've never met seem to know you because they keep phoning, and though they never say anything, you know that they don't know you because they always mispronounce your name. And when they tell you that there's no annual fee, you know that they're lying, and it'll still take a lifetime to pay. And what are you going to do with all this aluminum siding anyway? Living in an apartment with no windows, only walls, only inside walls. So you tell them that you've died. Hence, you won't be needing siding. But if they'll leave their number, you'll call them back if you snap out of it. But they won't, and you don't. And besides, aluminum siding is quite different than a silver lining. And instead, you've got clouds that are so heavy, they aren't lined with aluminum or silver or anything except probably lead. So it makes sense that they're so heavy and that your arms are so tired, your back is so tired, your head is so tired, and you're just so tired just from carrying them around all the time. But right now, you don't care because a woman on the subway and your feet hurt because they do, or maybe because your shoes don't fit anymore, at least the way you've been wearing them. So you swear tomorrow you'll try them on your other feet. And yet you know you won't, and who cares about shoes anyway? Because it's pants that count. And you should know because you're wearing them, at least in this family and in that family. And in fact, in every family you can ever think of, because that's what you've always remembered wearing and always remembered other people not wearing. And besides, you know, like you've never known anything else in your life, that every family has to have someone who wears the pants, and you're just it. And yet you wonder if you'll ever get the chance to take them off and just run naked and almost without worry. And you remember once you almost did, you almost jumped into the river, or was it a lake, or maybe it was the ocean, but then you remember you don't know because you didn't jump, so you don't know, but you decided then and there you don't care because a woman on the subway is moving towards you. And then it's dark. And you've never seen it this black before, and you can't even see your own finger as you jam it in your nose to see if you can feel even when it is so endless black. And you think you feel, but you can't be sure because you don't really know really. You just think you know. And you just get by with that because that is all you ever have to get by with. And you let it go at that. In fact, you let everything go, including all the things you've ever dreamed of and all the things you've ever wanted, and clutch instead the few things you've got, like your nose and your finger, and sometimes once, maybe, just maybe, the sight and smell and touch of possibility of a woman on the subway moving towards you. No moving away. The artist could make sense of that. And I think you captured it. I do. You see, there's sort of this, you know, alienation as a point of departure.
Thank you so much. I was happy that someone chose that. When it came in, I'm like, I really hope somebody chooses this. I love this. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
Oh, you read it? I'm really pleased to bring Monica. Monica Fiorentini, or as autocorrect prefers it, Monica Florentine. But Monica and I have known each other for 30-something years. We met in San Francisco. We started challenging each other to go to all of these open mics together. We're both shy, but we really challenged each other to do that and sort of became poets, explored poetry together. Started running workshops and groups, and well, Monica's living in Portugal now, and it winds up that she was in town visiting her parents upstate. So really pleased to have her here. She did 2 poems. One we're going to read now was inspired by another Ingrid Nichter piece. The small piece up here with the boat, the ship, and then she did Nested Heart. 3 works were created inspired by that. 3 at the end. The nest, the woman below, and then the nest to the left of the nest. Yeah. There you go. All right, come on, Moms.
All right, thank you. The first one I'll read is Expat, inspired by the Ghost Ship. And I have been an expat for the last 5 years, and it's been an interesting journey. So Expat. Illusionary tales stamp the course on the sea of obligation. Yet, wish you were here does not rescue truths unsaid. The duty is to be near, with cargo stowed above shallow waters, amid cobalt aqua skies and a dim moon to dull the crosswind ahead. The second one, I actually wrote when I was 21, so like yesterday or 32 years ago. So it was pretty cool to see it come to life in these 3 different paintings. It was actually a song I wrote as part of a short story that I wrote when I was 21. And it was a song that the lead character in my short story wrote to woo a girl. And now that I'm older and I read it, I recognize that maybe the poem is more befitting for me and wanting to hear my voice. So, nested heart. Nested heart, break from your shell, undo those wings. I want to hear your call. You sit up there, safe and hidden, hard with soft colors, seemingly forbidden. Nested heart, break from your shell, undo those wings. I want to hear your call. We can stack sticks and stones, make a pretty home to call our own. And yes, we can still gaze at ladies in flowy skirts and cotton shirts, keeping your head close to twilight's haze. Nested heart, break from your shell, undo those wings. I want to hear your call. Don't fly till you're ready, because I know these first steps aren't always steady. But please break from your shell, undo those wings. I so want to hold your call.
Lucinda. Excellent.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Lucinda Abra. Lucinda is going to read a piece for this one here called Heart, right?
All right.
Excellent. I did want to mention, I'm sorry, the 3 pieces that were inspired by Nested Heart are J.D. Weiss is the encaustic on the left. The top piece is a mixed media piece by Shelley Davis. And then right below it is by Debbie Auer Breitbart.
That's good.
I gotta give you credit.
Thus, the government was handing out 160-acre parcels. Determined, Samuel insisted we head west after hearing a real estate agent brag on the guarantee of the rain following the plow. By pushing the farrowed soil deep, moisture was created. It's science. We hoarded every precious penny for a new life. Plenty of land was just waiting to be conquered with dig and seed. One of those Oklahoma plots had his name right on it. His name. My husband often opined how the vast expanse of grain took on a purple hue at dawn. That's the closest that man ever came to being poetic about the wheat. I birthed babies. 4 died at childbirth. Franny made it to 5 before consumption took her. Nearly killed me burying my little ones. The ground demanded everything, even the entombment of hope. And all this was the before times, not the after. Then came hell on earth. The heavens did not, would not deliver one drop of rain. Samuel took to staring at cloud patterns, citing to no one, except maybe the emancipated horse, that he was sure the vault of heaven was just about to open wide. During a 2-day dust storm, the barn disintegrated as it was plummeted by the tempest. Millions of pounds of earth we had so toiled upon blew from our aspirations as far away as Chicago. Then, like the tale of Job, our suffering only increased. The earth heaved and thrashed. I could not see my husband, though we stood only feet apart. And enduring hunger left us empty with longing. Samuel put salt on his boot and shoved it greedily into his parched mouth. They killed him, those farm sheep. Dirt coursed through the papers Mom had sent me. As I read those recipes, my fingers traced aside the fine particles of glowing turmoil. imagining satisfying taste like that of a baked potato. I ate them papers, chewing them slowly. Uselessly, I worked my broom in a dreamish frenzy, resolved to conquer the warrior terrain. Finally, one corner of the house was left, along with a chair, my broom, and the good book. The land was as barren as I was. From dusk, we all returned.
Who's that?
That was for this one. Yeah. Cold Party. By Lucinda Apple as well. Hammer's gonna come up and read a piece, by, a poem he wrote for Joseph Petilius's work called, Masked Nude in a Puddle. And then Josepha's gonna come and read her piece that she wrote inspired by this one.
It's that painting there. I think you were using that as the cover for your advertising for.
A few, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Masked nude in a puddle. Little bits of me everywhere, pixelated, floating away into cubistic squares, geometric bits, my face falling apart. I know, I cannot smile now. My breasts so out of focus, soon they'll be unrecognizable with all this unwanted, watery distortion, this blurring of color all around me. I'm sitting in a puddle. What's in this water? Who has put this metamorphosis upon me? I have my eyes still and one slightly warped hand. There must be a solution, an incantation, an enunciation for what has begun.
Okay, Josepha. So Josepha's going to read her poem for Masked Nude in a Puddle, and then also a piece called The Sleeping Prophet, which Veronica Lawler had created a piece for, which is right behind Josepha.
Yeah, not familiar with color. I like to write poems to my paintings a lot. I talk to them. A thing that smells like hard-ridden horse, sweat, fresh turned earth, whose blood was startled into existence. A shrieking, call it human, okay, definitely human, but swaddled in an inconclusive disguise. Time locked and in a hurry, definitely marked for extinction with no backup plan. The thing at birth, fallen butt first into a muddle hole. A rising Cancer, Sun in Capricorn, the year of the horse. Its DNA matches mine. I bet you already guessed. And this one was fired by The Sleeping Prophet, Astronomy of Love. She called it Star Maps.
Yes.
If we, the dead, know anything about time, we know it can be reversed repeatedly. Out of dirt and cinders, we come back, every one of us, given a name, given a wick twist of a soul, exalted. Soul, bone and flesh, heartbeat to heartbeat, thickening with life, greedy for love. Every one of us in the plush arms of giants, crammed full of dreams and milk and stars. Newly arrived, we lose count of the number of deaths we've departed from, the abandoned embraces, the food not tasted, the whole of yesterday and tomorrow, a flimmering drift of earth's debris, small fires stuttering to explode.
Thank you. I wanted to mention, I'm gonna be doing a solo show for Veronica Lawler, in July. She, last year did a residency over at Birdcliff, and she's been studying all of the brickyards in the area. So she's abstracted them into, collages and paintings, really beautiful work. So there's gonna be an exhibit of those. She had also, a couple years ago, had done the same thing with the deconstruction of the Kosciuszko Bridge. So there's gonna be a few of those as well. It's very abstract, but in you know, the context of how they were created, I mean, you can certainly see all of the workings behind it. So that was Veronica Lawler. There was another piece from Veronica right by Phil that is on its way to its new home. But there were two poems that were written in response to that. One of them is by Gwyneth Green. We'll have Teresa come up and read that. And then that's the Dancing Diva.
Yeah.
And then after that, Michelle will come up and read her piece on introspection, the piece is called. All right.
Oops, it's stuck on my own phone.
The Dancing Diva. The rehearsal ended. She slipped inside herself, reflections of the past haunting, cursing her clumsiness, having stepped on old Beau's toes just too many times. He silently laughs. They were the fools making fun of her in whispers that echoed in the hallways. Readying a shallow breath, a long stretch, fingers to toes. Hold it, hold it. Yes, hold it longer, releasing the tension, not really looking for attention. Now in pose, the crescendo rises from below, curtain ascends, hiding a smirk why those jerks from the past came to mind. She in perfect balance, the prima donna will dance.
Yeah.
Introspection. Our shadowed pain crawling through heart and mind need to heal and release. Our self-critic beating us down, paralyzing every thought and action. Tiny steps to self-love. Our ego getting in our own way. Ask for help. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that Michelle has been a part of this ever since I started it. I love that she takes that challenge and, you know, really works. I'm gonna read a poem that I was, really honored that Regina Quinn, who's an incredible encaustic artist, created a piece inspired by one of my poems that actually started at an art and word show a couple years ago. It was inspired by a painting by Alex Seta. And it was just two people in Al's way of just standing there, in front of what looked like some kind of institution or place. So this is where that took me. It's called Visiting Day. And I think that Regina really captured the piece, the mood. Visiting Day. I never liked visiting day. Mom would take me with her to the home.
It was always cold and smelled of antiseptic. He never remembered me, the one that his wife fought hard to live to see born, and once I was, she would let go. He would stare at me, confused by how familiar I looked. Then back to my mom with a blank face while he listened to her updates about people who had long fled his mind. He would look at me again, hard, trying to figure out the connection. The tips of his shock of white hair reaching for answers. Sometimes he would grab them, and his eyes would get excited, but he would just as quickly lose his grasp and slip back to forgetting. Why do you still go to see him? I asked Mom on our way home. Because he's my father, she said, wiping her tears. And I want him to know that I'm visiting and that he's not alone. Years later, Mother would go through this again with her brother, holding his hand, talking to fill the void, recounting stories from childhood in the hopes that one would trigger a memory and the brother she loved would pop up for a mere second to say that everything was okay. But sometimes I question if everything is okay. These days, I walk into a room and immediately forget why I'm there. I talk to people I know that I know, but I can't figure out how I know. Or a conversation drops out of my mind minutes after it's been had. I'm hoping these are signs of getting old, that they're normal. But if not, then I hope I don't forget the music. No, not the music. I'll need something to focus on when the strangers come on visiting. I'm going to read two pieces by Anna Silva. The first piece, I'm sorry, as always happens, I ran out of ink today, so I couldn't print anything out. I'm looking for weeds. Okay. Okay, this is a piece called Weeds that Nancy O'Hara created a abstract piece for. Yes, that one. I'll find the poem. Sorry, guys. So I'm a little flustered. I don't like reading that poem. It bothers me. Okay. This Nancy O'Hara, her piece is called Wake Up. And it was inspired by Anna Silva's poem called Weeds. There are shadows that darken what we know of the day. There are winds that tell us what we want to know. All torso, there is a tree whose rough bark needs the tightness of our neck muscles. There is grass so soft and dry, it flickers unconcerned at our bare feet and ankles. Bugs fall into our hair, the wind cools our necks. There is a silent space where we sleep and sleep, not needing the sun. Sometimes we smash the wonder of the day within the grinding metal turnings of our mind, and then later feel utterly abandoned. The grass grows greener every summer until it goes brown again, and fades to a light brown hairy mass. Our picnics turn into just strawberry tops, plastic wrapped and soggy paper plates. If we are lucky, the grass will be sprinkled with purple thyme that smells like pumpkin. When the ground is wet with a soaking rain that makes our feet slip and we tumble in the air until we feel the full hardness of the earth, that is when we know we are awake. Here. So that is the first piece by Anna, and then the second piece is right over there. The pastel landscape that Elaine Ralston created, inspired by
Goldenrod.
Anna's piece.
Goldenrod.
Goldenrod, yes. The piece is called Goldenrod and the poem is, they're both called Goldenrod.
Correct.
Goldenrod. Not quite the end of summer, not a beautiful yellow, not the pink hydrangea full in your hand. But stalwart, long-lasting, reliable, it will stay with you as you eat your cold dinner, flying bugs around your head in a lone chair in the sunset. And Bruce. Gonna bring Bruce up for two pieces that were, for one piece, I'm sorry. That, Will Nixon. Created a photograph for, and it's called Toy Soldiers.
Okay.
You have it, Bruce? Yeah, that'd be great.
Toy soldier. My daddy bought me 1,000 toy soldiers. And I play war whenever I'm alone. Sometimes in the early morning light, I arrange them in infantries along the ridges and valleys of our bed sheets, sending hundreds to their death in the cauldron of wrinkles and folds. Someday I'm gonna shoot my enemies. That's what my daddy tells me. Now me and my buddies go rat-a-tat-tat and somebody falls down, but they're only fooling. Anyway, I prefer playing with my soldiers. Sometimes I fight the Battle of Gettysburg over and over on my bed, arranging the blanket like Devil's Den or Cemetery Ridge. I get a lot of satisfaction watching rebels fall. This is more fun than dancing with all those silly girls. Someday I'll be smarter than everybody and have a big farm in Pennsylvania and hire some immigrants to reenact the Battle of Iwo Jima. But now I play alone with my soldiers while nobody's looking. In the privacy of my room, I can kill anyone.
Okay, thank you everyone we just have a few more. Thanks everyone for being so patient. Will, we got two more from Will.
Yeah.
Will, we're gonna stick with Will as an artist and poet. He's gonna do these two pieces. Will created both the art and the poetry for it. Which came first? The art, great. All right.
This is for Julian. And the poem might sound a little surreal, but the poem is pretty literal about the painting. For Julian. Just because you're the biggest cockeyed fish in the sea. Just because you swim like a Christmas tree. Just because your name begins with a hook and ends with a pair of fangs. Doesn't mean someone somewhere isn't eyeing you for a sushi roll. Or your mother isn't worried about sharks next Halloween. Your job, Julian, is to teach the sun to swim. Look around. The dome this morning is underwater, leaving the rest of us to wake up in the dark. Who knows what the sun did wrong or why? Maybe it wanted a bath after eons in the dirty universe, or simply got turned around and upside down on its first trip to Socrates. The sun boils away at the bottom of the sea. So please, Julian, please tell the sun to try again. We miss it so. Show it how to wiggle its fins. Spare it a couple of your spare eyes. The sun will follow you to the surface if you treat it with respect. The sun will remember its proper place in the sky. The day you turn 13 is coming soon. The girls waiting on dry land will want to get a whiff of you.
All right,
I'll bring up Carolyn to do, one more time to do, I was challenged to create a piece of art and I did a collage. I'm not an artist, but I have fun cutting things out and pasting them together. And that was sort of an homage to her. It's when you hear the piece, you'll get what it's about. So I sort of chose some of her favorite boys on the corner and threw the chick to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. I know him as Bob, everybody knows him as Robert Langdon, but after 38 years of friendship, there you have it, can change old
So the
ways.
poem, just to be clear,
I-
the poem came first and then
Yes.
you did the art.
Yeah, the poem came first. I just wanted to say really quickly that how proud I am of Robert for maintaining this gallery for so long. I mean, it's been.
Thanks,
thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. It's a
You know,
labor of
when you
love.
see all the works on the wall, paintings, the poetry. Multiply that, by however many more people sent things in for Robert to review, and he really takes care. So, all the pride that went into creating these, multiply that by however many hundred, and that's the time that Robert spends weeks on end preparing shows. So anything you can do to help the gallery, spread the word, buy a piece, share your paintings. None of this happens by accident. And Robert needs to keep this open so we can all do this because it's wonderful. And it's not gonna happen without your help. So I'm just here to pledge, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, time this. So, thank you. And I am thrilled to, you're welcome. You please deserve to keep this going. So yeah, this home, I was. Oh, I was coming out of a convenience store. It just struck me. So, we can all think back and a lot of us here can still say, God, I feel like a teenager, So, so do some of those people outside the convenience store. Okay, so it's called The Boys at the Corner Store. The boys at the corner store are no longer 15. They still stand there with cigarettes and broken dreams. Still checking out girls in any language spoken, sipping soda pop or coffee, I don't know. They check out dime store drop-ins, this time with a jaded eye, for time has lapsed as the cars go by. Years go by like the girls. Time stands still for the boys at the corner store. They're still standing there, hands in pockets, shaking change, staring at strange passers-by, shaking his pocket, smiling as the sun shines down on the girls as they go by. The boys at the corner store are no longer 15.
Okay, I'm gonna close it out with one last poem. I gotta say, unfortunately, I don't write as often as I'd like, so this sort of gives me an opportunity or a deadline to write. And I get excited when I do that. So it's these poems in here are, some of the first things that I've written maybe a year or two. So this is called Yard Dog. It is inspired by this piece here by Jacqueline Oster. It's a watercolor, and then she's got some chicken wire across the front of the fence. Yard Dog. There are yard dogs and broken birds. One day as a child, I watched a hatchling fall from its nest. Splat. The translucent head was too bulbous for its spaghetti neck. I climbed the fence and scooped up the broken bird, then caught it from the corner of my eye. I made it to the fence, but not before getting bit from behind by a yard dog. They've been sniffing at my ass my whole life. In grammar school, knocking over my milk, or pushing me into lockers for a chorus of barks from their pack. The one who charmed me until I was lost and he was full. Who left me a letter the day he took off to England, ending our summer romance before the season was over. The one who claimed for 4 years that he loved me, then screwed my best friend while I was out dancing with the girls. The one who clenched my heart in his teeth like a toy, crushed it under a spoon, and took it up his nose, damaging any healthy idea I had of love. Then there's the broken bird that brought me back. Chased out the dogs from my yard and filled it with laughter. Helped me find myself again and fall in love with love. But that bird fell out of the nest and now he's gone. It's hard keeping the dogs away, but his ghost reminds me what Emily once said. Hope is the thing with feathers. Now I meet my bird. This is my favorite show of the year. I'm so glad that, people are responding to it. There's, as I mentioned, there's some other poems that weren't read today, so I encourage you to have a look online. You can also have a look on my website. All of the previous years are all archived on there as well, so you can see some of the poetry and the artwork that was created. What else? Tuesday, if you're around Tuesday, come on by 9W Diner. It's going to be a great show. It's myself, if you want to hear me talk again. Katie Kokonos, who's a wonderful filmmaker here, runs the Film Society over in Saugerties, has a big hand in the Orpheum. And who is saxophonist?
Paul Clark.
Paul Clark, yes, and Paul Clark. Joanne and Bruce both run the series. It's the first Tuesday of every month. And it's a really wonderful dialogue between writers, musicians, and other artists. Yeah, if you're around, come on by. And then
7 o'clock.
Oh, 7 o'clock. Okay, 7 o'clock. 9W Diner, up in Berkeley Heights.
Tuesday, May 2nd.
Tuesday, May 2nd. So that's about it. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. It's a little tight in here. It's a lousy day, but hey, we packed it. If you want to watch it next time,